Can they see me here?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I've decided to give a short talk about what I will be doing and what I intend to or hope to accomplish in my writer's workshop. Why am I writing? Why am I giving a writer's workshop? What qualifies me to help you write better? Well, I've been writing for 60 years. That's how old I am. Not 60, 77, almost 8. I've been writing that long, and I think I can demonstrate to you in this short talk that I am, in fact, the greatest living literary genius. Why? Why do I think that? My poetry and my prose, my fiction. I don't have a memoir. I had on my YouTube. I read my probably like a 4-page memoir of harvesting watermelons at 15 in Florida, and I got 15,000 views. Put that in perspective, Herman Melville only sold 3,200 Moby Dicks in his lifetime, so that was pretty good for one day. And then when I compared the first chapter of Thriller, Orpheus in Tampa, to a Guy de Maupassant story, which it tracks this story and then it uses the story to shoot the thriller out of a cannon. I got 11,000 views for that. And what I did in that talk is I argued, I made the case for being a much better writer, a far greater literary genius than Guy de Maupassant, who is a towering figure in the short story. He was the most important French short storyteller. So my short story, which is actually the first chapter of my thriller, is much better than his. There's no question about it. So I'm going to read you the opening passage of a novel that I wrote, Hip Hop Murders, to demonstrate to you that I am the greatest living author. Oh, and I'll also I might recite a couple of my poems. So these are the sort of the steps that I'm going to try to follow. The first is to introduce you to the best in world literature, the best writing, fiction writing, of course, short stories and novels, and I'm going to start with my own. And I'm going to read to you from something that George Orwell wrote, Down and Out in Paris and London. I'm going to read part of Paris to you. And I'm going to talk about these things that I read to you. My theory is that to write well, to paint well, to sculpt well, you have to be familiar with the best. You have to know what's good. I mean, I've seen countless painters, working so hard, striving to paint something that's horrible and succeeding. I mean, they never learned what was good. See, I mean, that's the first thing that you should do. And I'm going to try to teach you to write great literature. How many will succeed? Well, that's not important. The important thing is that you learn the skills that are going to allow you to do your best as a fiction writer or a poet. And then it's up to you to use these skills however you want. Oh yes, yes, yes. I have. I thought I had done like 150 YouTubes, and Tech tells me that I've done 240 YouTubes. And my YouTubes, I don't know if he actually used this title or not, but I call it Russ Stall. It gives you a free college education. And I tried to talk about a number of subjects. And you're going to get a great education if you listen to all of these. I'm going to point out the ones that are important to our workshop. I want you to read. For example, or watch. I want you to watch the YouTube about art because I am the first. Well, there's several things that I have done for the first time. Um, I'm the first person to explain the biological basis of art, and my conclusions exclude exclude abstract expressionism and pop art from the category of art, and I'll explain why in my YouTube to you. Why I do not believe this is real art, and it's going all both movements are going to fade into nothingness. They're going to be regarded as a humorous footnote. I mean, in 1,000 years maybe, but at some point in the future, because they're not art. Anything that you can, anything that I can do, as well as the original artist, obviously can't be art. I mean, if I can make a, which I can, if I can make a Jackson Pollock or a Bernie Newman or Barney Newman or Rothko, we had a Chinese man in Queens that made Rothkos, which Nate Gallery sold for millions of dollars, and now this 200-year-old gallery is out of business because of this. Um, yeah, I mean, I can make any skilled painter can make a Rothko, but no skilled painter can make a Monet. See the difference? I mean, for obvious reasons. All right, so I teach you about the world in my YouTubes. This is essential. If you want to be a great novelist, you have to be uh, a sophisticat. That's what I call people. Sophisticated people. Sophisticats. You got to be a sophisticat. You've got to understand the world if you're going to write about it. You've got to understand people. If you're going to write a novel, people in the world. That's what the two elements of every novel. Uh, yeah, so I want you to. I want you to have a personality. I mean, I'm going to explain to you what makes writing fiction good, what makes it work. And one of the things is you have to have a personality. And what does that mean? To have a personality. Well, you have to have things that you love and things, and you have to have interests. Okay. Oh, good. This is charging now. Other workshops are going to talk about the mechanics of writing, and I will talk about the mechanics of writing also. But I'm going to emphasize the energy of a given work of art. Art, a work of art is a unit of psychic energy, and the qualities of this I think Thomas Mann did a good job of summarizing that. He said a novel must delight, enlighten, and entertain. Okay. By that criterion, my novels are the best, not in history certainly, of anything that's happening today. You know, Franzen or comparing Franzen to Francis' work to my work is like comparing a golf ball to the planet Jupiter. Same thing with Tom Wolfe. So this is a sample of my writing. This is the man that's going to teach you how to do your best, write your best. And the book is called, the novel is called Hip Hop Murders, and it begins with a rap by the first person. It's in the first person. I'm sorry, it's in the third person, but the hero is a rapper, and this is his rap. Okay. Chapter 1, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Fresh out of prison, I'm on a mission, tossing other rappers down the crapper, because I'm the boss man. After I chew 'em up and spit 'em out, it's time for flossing, because they're nothing. They made a fortune selling crack, but just one slip and the feds done took it back. I found a better way to make my stack, an all-out assault, a rap attack. It's time for action. I'm a cracker, not a slacker, serving a hip-hop masterpiece for your satisfaction. Once it's dropped, it can't be stopped. It's a hip-hop nuclear chain reaction. It's the solution to your noise pollution, so put your mic down. Now it's time for me to make a name, take my place on my throne and claim my fame. Hit the nitrous button on this rapper game. Once it's said and done, nothing will remain the same. Signed, Creep. He wrote these words as his bus rolled into the frozen Bronx. Creep was his name in prison. He was always looking for something to steal, creeping anything he could sell on the yard for a cigarette. It was a pale gray January day when he got off the bus with $100 and a new suit of clothes from Goodwill. He started looking for a place to crash, but everyone had moved, or if they hadn't, they didn't know Creep. Who would want to know him? 21, small, slight, a caved, ghostly, pockmarked face. But why am I calling him Creep? Well, he has a proper surname on his birth certificate, like everyone else. I'll call the poor guy by his Christian name then. His mother named him Small, because he only weighed 3 pounds at birth. So no one knew poor Small. It was as cold as the proverbial witch's tit, and Small ended up crawling into a dumpster and burrowing among bags of garbage. The next morning he was almost dead when they found him. 2 black garbage men heard his cries as the hydraulic arms were dumping him into their garbage truck. They fished him out and threw a blanket around him and gave him some hot coffee. They had both done time and felt for him. One offered to let him crash in his apartment temporarily. He wanted Small to stay with his dog. He said it was dying and he didn't have the heart to take it to the vet. Of course, Small agreed to stay with the dog, and the next morning the foolish garbage man left Small alone in his apartment and went to work. He said he really appreciated what Small was doing and promised to take him to a movie. A new movie was debuting that night at Cutie's XXX. As soon as Demetrius left, that was the garbage man's name, Small tried to steal his TV, but it was too big, and he fell on the stairs, and the two went crashing and bouncing to the bottom. Small lay there stunned a moment, then began screaming, "My leg! I broke my motherfucking leg!" The landlord heard Small's anguished cries and helped him up the stairs to the couch and retrieved the TV. He wanted to call 911, but Small was loath to seek medical care because he had failed to check in with probation. When Demetrius got home from work, Small explained that he had tried to take the TV for repairs. Demetrius believed this and took it himself. Small tried to walk and was sure his leg was broken. "Motherfucker," he kept repeating. The two went to the movie anyway, Small hopping with a crutch, and watched the new porn queen from the West Coast. Afterwards, they went to a bar. Demetrius was 58, and now his dog was almost dead. Oh, all right. Demetrius was 58 and had no children, no one but his dog, and now his dog was almost dead. He thought that maybe fate had tossed Small into his garbage truck as a quid pro quo for his dog. He asked Small if he would go with him to the vet with the dog. A dog was not a man, and it was not right to let a dog suffer. The two went the next morning, and this caused them to bond because Small remembered having a dog and how bad he felt when the dog ran away. They talked all day about getting another dog, but decided not to because Demetrius wanted to get over the old dog first. Small hung out in the apartment by day, watching TV, and drank with Demetrius at a bar at night, and listened to his stories about his life in doing time. After a couple of weeks, Small was walking on his leg again with a cane, and with a couple more weeks, he gave up the cane and walked with a limp and started to skip and run and realized that he was well enough to steal. He decided that the leg had never been broken, but he had torn something in it which was gradually healing. The black people in the apartment called him Gimp. They called the two Demetrius and the Gimp. Small began haunting the stores, buying odds and ends with his $100 and planning his first theft. He found a Haitian who fenced clothes and also sold weed. Small bought a blunt for $20 and tried to make friends with a Haitian who was his age and whose name was John. That night, he smoked the blunt with Demetrius, and they began talking about buying a new dog and discussed the various breeds of dogs and the pros and cons of each. The next morning, Small went to a shoe store and bought shoelaces and shoe polish to disarm the clerks, then started trying on new shoes and found two that did not have electric tags, one for the right foot, one for the left, slightly different colors and styles, but close enough. He put his ratty old shoes in the shoebox and put it back on the shelf and was about to flex, to bounce, to dip, which all mean to depart, when he saw her, and his heart began going thump, thump, thump. A Creole queen, just 17, you know what I mean? He thought she was some kind of fairy princess, yellow, so pretty it hurt to look at her. He moved closer so he could read her name tag, which displayed her first name, Shaquita. Then he remembered what he looked like in the mirror that morning. It was nothing nice. He wanted to talk to her, but he had to do something about his face. He needed a new face. His grill was a mess. He needed to have his teeth cleaned, and he was pallid. His complexion made him think of the underbelly of a fish. So he needed a tan and, of course, clothes. He needed to steal a whole wardrobe. Now Small had a reason to live, winning the heart of the fair Shaquita. Okay, well, that's a good place to break. So, what's the important feature of this writing? It's the energy. You know, it's almost like poetry, this prose. And the energy is electric, see? And it's intoxicating. The prose is intoxicating. It makes you want to find out, you know, how this guy is he going to make his way in the world, see? And that's what the novel's about. And it's called a picaresque novel after the Spanish picaro or rogue. And this goes back to the Middle Ages, novels about rogues. And a picaresque, in a classic picaresque novel, the picaro, the rogue, has a number of disjointed experiences, episodes. Okay? In my novel, Hip Hop Murders, Small develops in a very interesting way, and he morphs into a very different person. And I think it's done very believably. Right, so that's a sample of my writing. And oddly enough, all of my fictions are different, and they actually sound like they were written by different people. Well, that brings up another subject, and that's the subject of where does art come from? And great art comes from the daemon, the unconscious creative force. And so the way I write is that I get an initial image of a setting with characters, and then I write that, and then I just follow my nose. I don't even think about what is going to be in the next sentence. I just write one sentence, and then my daemon dictates. My daemon has figured out what's going to happen, see, in the novel, and dictates to me what I will say in the next sentence. So what's the advantage of this kind of writing? Well, look at the energy of this passage I just read. It infuses, see, the prose with this daemonic energy, which makes it exciting, fun. So we're going to study the very best writing. For example, my own writing, the works of other authors, passages that I think are really outstanding. I'm going to read to you, and I'm going to tell you why they're outstanding. Well, what's good about this? Why is this so good? Well, it's good because it's fun. It enlightens, it delights, enlivens, and entertains the reader. Okay, as good as any novel has ever done. And it introduces the character, the Picaro, Small Jones, and we have a good feeling for his character, and we know he's very clever and creative because of his rap, don't we? So we know a lot about him. He's a great liar and trickster, a Picaro. But he's going to become much more, and that's what's going to make the novel a great novel as opposed to just another picaresque novel. It's going to be as good as any novel of its length. Okay. What do we say? What do we mean when we say a novel is a good novel? It doesn't teach you something. What does it do? Well, it gives you an imaginary world to live in. As I've done with this excerpt, this beginning here. So it's a sort of a form of escape, isn't it, in a way? You start reading Anna Karenina, in early 19th century Russia, in this this unusual, different society. Oh, I'm going to talk about the tremendous advantage you have of being alive now and writing for living people. You've got a tremendous advantage over Charles Dickens or Leo Tolstoy, in writing for your audience. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. See, everyone who's listened to me read from Hip-Hop Murders can relate to everything in it. I call it the shoe store. He goes back. It's called the double discount shoe store. Right? But you can relate to all these things. The guy not checking in with parole and all of the details. You can relate to them. The garbage man, with his dog. And, it's just what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this beginning passage is to set the scene, introduce a character, and hook that reader. So there's no way he's getting away. There's no way he's going to get away. He wants to know what's going to happen to Small. What's Small going to do, right? See, well, that's what you have to do. And maybe we'll start with some short stories. And all right, that gets me to the second part of the workshop. First part is you're going to learn what's good. book's bad. Example of what's bad is just read a little bit of, if you're a man, I assume, of course, my people are all guys. Read a little bit of you can do this online free. Read a little bit of Jonathan Franzen's Corrections, okay? So that was Oprah Winfrey Book Club book, so that should tell you something. It sets the scene well and it introduces the characters well, but it's for women. It's not for a man. No man's going to read the Corrections of Freedom, which is this big hit, putting on the covers of Time magazine. I'm not hating on the guy. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. These are Oprah Winfrey, Book of the Month Club books, and for women. And this is a romance novel for women. Freedom. A woman who cheats on her husband, a middle class woman. He identifies with this woman. Yeah, it's crap. I mean, from a man's point of view, any book that's written. See, this book, Hip Hop Murders, females can enjoy it just as much as males. Any book that's written for a gender is crap. I mean, from a literary standpoint, it's crap. Okay, I'm talking about women's romances. I mean, you try to read a woman's romance. It's funny. They're formulaic, and you can see the formula playing out. I mean, I started one, I couldn't finish it, but just see what they were like. Or that's written for women, and they consume. You might make your millions, writing these things. I mean, I'll explain the formula to you. I'm going to give you the skills to write the Da Vinci codes. Yeah, you may make millions. I bet you that hundreds of thousands of these things have been produced because these girls will just. I had a niece that just consumed these things. She must have read hundreds and hundreds of them. They're all exactly the same formula. All right. So another example is books written for men, like westerns. These genre books are crap from a literary point of view. I mean, if that's what you want to write. I got my first submission. Somebody submitted written pornography to me. He was serious, trying to win a prize and everything. So I read it. It took me a few minutes to read 20 pages. Fast reader. And I told him, to make this into something other than pornography, this is what you have to do. So, God, please don't send me more of that stuff. Oof. Okay, so you're going to learn what's good and what's bad. Then you're going to send me, like the pornography. You're going to send me what you think. This is a very finished work of written pornography, by the way. Guy, I think he was entering a contest with it. Yeah, so don't send me crap. I mean, don't send me stuff that you know is bad, because if you know it's bad, you know why it's bad. Why have me reinforce why it's bad? No, send me stuff that you think has promise, has merit. Unless you've got some problem, specific problem, and you want me to help you solve it, send it to me and say, what do I do here? Don't send me 100 pages, send me one page. It's 5 pages, it's like that. All right, so half of the thing is going to be me giving you examples and explaining the examples to you. And I'm going to make you a connoisseur of great literature. You're going to read it as I do, for the energy. What kind of energy does it have? That's the ultimate. The ultimate goal of fiction is communicate, the author's feelings, thoughts to you. You have to learn how to do that if you want to be a great writer. Oh, poetry. God, I should have organized and prepared for this. It's better though for me to extemporize. In the case, yeah. Here are the things I want you guys to do. Start thinking about writing a short story, and we're going to write a short story together. I'll read something of mine. Well, what I read you could almost be a short story, couldn't it? It could. It's 99% of short stories that are written, and it has a short story has to have setting, characters, a little plot, and then it has to have an important event. Okay, and what I read you just meets all these criteria. The important event is he decides that he wants to win this girl, and how is he going to do it? See. So it really is a short story. That's funny because I start all my novels like that with an opening passage that could stand alone as a short story. Well, I want you to go and listen. Just anything, any question in your mind. I am the greatest living literary genius. I want you to go to my YouTube, Watermelon Thieves. 15,000 people viewed me reading this, and it would be a great. It's a great short story, except it's not a short story at all. It's pure memoir. It's scrupulously accurate historically. I mean, every single thing in the short story, even my friends' names. I'm sure they're not with us anymore. So this is back over 60 years ago. When this happened. But it's pure reportage. It's pure history. Okay, but it stands. It would qualify. You could put it in a book of short stories. Nobody would know it was a short story. It was not a short story, and it would be as good as any James Joyce story, anything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you guys want to know how Small deals with this problem of winning the heart of the fair Shaquita, right? Yeah, okay. Let's go back where we left off, and just to show you a little bit of how this is going to develop. Come on, what's going on here? See, I hadn't planned to do this, but then I just decided it might be interesting for you. Oh, come on. Oh, here, okay, it's right up on top. What the hell? Why does Berkshire Hathaway come up when I ask for Hip Hop Murders? Okay. Not this time it came up good. Okay. Okay. I'll have it just a second here. All right. All right, now I can find it. Now I can find it. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh shit, that's the end of the free sample. I used to have a bunch of these around the house. All right. Next sentence. All right. Now Small had a reason to live, winning the heart of the fair Shaquita. Next sentence. Jean said he could take all the leather jackets Small could steal. And Small went to work, scoring a very fancy lambskin coat. And then that's the end of the free sample. So I did all that for nothing. God, sorry. Uh, okay, so he gets to work seriously as a shoplifter. Yeah. And some great stories about his shoplifting and working with John, John Tegajan, the Haitian drug dealer. Yeah, that was much ado about nothing there. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna let you see when I start talking. I think of things, new things. I'm gonna keep you guys up to date on my efforts to get my Rossetti, my Moby Dick. I'm gonna go to Barnes and Noble, the CEOs here in New York City, and I'm going to ask the guy to have Barnes and Noble publish my Rossetti, the story of the middleweight, and I'm gonna try to do the Harry Potter thing for him. We're a store. Harry Potter is responsible for I think most of the revenues of Barnes and Noble at one time. And if I give him, if I think I can legally give him an exclusive right to sell. I'm sure I can. He can sell my 3 volumes of Rossetti, the Story of a Middleweight, which is about a CPA that becomes a boxer. And so I'll keep you. I'll tell you what happens. My experience. In getting this placed. Hopefully it'll work out with Barnes and Noble. And they have 600 stores, 630 or some stores still open, and they need help. And I'm certain that my Rossetti is going to sell over 100 million copies. It wouldn't surprise me if it sold over 200 million because it's going to be something that all men and maybe 25 to 50% of women will want to read. It's so entertaining. It's more fun than any novel ever written by far. It's just so much fun. And it's not stupid. It's very clever, very bright, and just very entertaining. And it has the quality of all my work that it grabs you and you can't get going. You can't get away. And that's what you have to learn to do. And I will teach you how to do this. Okay, why else should you take my workshop? I'm also going to make it a clinic, a writer's clinic, for people that don't want to. I've already talked about it. If you want to take a literature course, this is where you belong. I mean, I took several UC Berkeley classes, 65. I took one from Claude Renoir's grandson, who was a famous professor of literature, and I took one from an Irish poet I took a poetry workshop from an Irish poet, and took over the thing, of course, and taught it myself when I was 19. And I read my farm poems to the kids, and they did double and triple flips over them. Yeah, so I have vast experience in this, in literature. I mean, I've been a lover of literature all my life, and I studied it when I was a kid at UC Berkeley, and I've studied it ever since. And so you're gonna get more literature appreciation out of me than you will from Harvard, Yale, Oxford, anywhere. Then I'm going to try to teach you how to write better. I'm going to try to teach you how to write great stuff, actually. And then the other thing I'm going to do is give people that have problems with their writing. Forget creative writing, just writing a letter to a girlfriend to make up, or writing a resume and a description of your history, writing something to try to get a job. Okay, I'm going to give people a clinic, take their writing and say, no, let's redo it and let's take all this out. And just try to teach people how to write effectively. Okay, so I'll be doing that. So if you just want a writer's clinic, this is the right place to come. Also, I'd like to get thousands of people involved in this, so that I can hire some staff here and help me with it, and with processing, the submissions to me. Notice since I've got another submission. Oh, that's his name. I give everybody names. He's an Ashkenazi with a really prominent schnozzhole, and it's my best buddy in my tech. I wrote the great modernist poem, New York City, partially inspired by Adventures with a Nose. He calls himself Rapper Nose now, and I contributed some rap for him, so he recorded it and went viral. All right, so poetry, yes, poetry. I want everybody to become a Bukowski. That's going to help you open up and get fluent, verbally fluent. That's going to contribute to writing better fiction, just writing good poetry. And you can read some Bukowski, and I have to find. Yeah. So what is this Bukowski writing? And I've written it. I call them my Bukowskis. I've written some Bukowskis. And what is it? Is it poetry? Is it really poetry, or is it prose? I think it's somewhere in between. I find an almost poem. This is by Russ Stoll. I've searched for many months for a poem by a living poet. All I ask is words that say something. I guess it has to say something interesting and be art. I have no interest in word puzzles. I've never seen a puzzle that was sublimely beautiful or even lovely. So last night it happened, or at least at first I thought it happened. Chimic's Pin Poem, the one about death delivering the bad news to people. It's always the same news. Your number's up. It's time to pass. It's time to pass to kick the bucket. Sorry, Buster, you're a goner, ciao bambino. But he's got death as a working man, just like a mailman who has neighbors who sit on the back porch playing cards, a wife who irons his clothes, daughters who set the table. I wondered what it all meant. Bells, it was the same old poem as puzzle bullshit, just another literary exercise, so much artful drivel signifying nothing. So that was I was in the habit, I gotta get back in the habit of doing this, of writing down my experiences every day. Yeah, I made friends with this girl that I called Extrema. I wrote poems about it. She's a whore, called The Extremas. Okay. Extrema, the comeback kid. I thought she was a Kaputnik, that she would fade into nothingness. I thought of the bulls I had seen dragged from the corrida by horses, meat for the butcher. I thought of her being rendered into tins of Extrema chow for hungry dogs. And now she's back on her feet, dancing, eager for the next round. She dreams of Paris and is leaving next Monday. 3 cheers for Extrema. Please join me in a toast. Hoch und dreimal hoch. That's German. It means high and 3 times high. Yeah, so I can't start with it. I got to start with an early streaming so you can appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of these things are sort of this sort of commentary. Oh, I went to the New York Rican poetry slam, and I paid the $12 to recite, and they took our $12, but none of us got to recite because it was, well, here. I go to a poetry slam. It's all about money. No, it's about sex and money and sex. A band is blasting me insensate. The girls who have come to see the beefcakes rapping are already insensate. By 50, they will be deaf. They're already dumb. We sign up to recite for 3 minutes, but the in-house hacks are taking 15. The girls are applauding for a beefcake in a t-shirt who keeps repeating, I wants to fall in love. After 2 hours, I realized no one who signed in is reciting. It was just a come on to get my $12. These are my Bukowskis here. I want you to start writing one every day. God, well, I was writing about these shootings. This is in 2015. There was like a mass shooting every week, and I was writing something about it, comments about it. But some of these things are better than Bukowski's, believe me. The case of the disappearing sugar babies, that's in this huge thing here. If only I could find it. Let's see here. Yeah, I believe that my best poetry is as good as Poe's or Walt Whitman's. And I'll make the case for that in closing. America was once called the land of opportunity. No taxes, no wars, most people farmers, land $2 an acre. If you didn't have the $2, you could go out west and squat till you owned the land by adverse possession. And it goes on, tells about my ancestors coming here. So I'm gonna encourage you to write Bukowski's. I have one about from the noise in the kitchen where I wake up from a noise. I go into the kitchen and there's a ghost in the refrigerator, and Bukowski's in the poem. I wish I could find it. Okay, so yeah. How do I prove to you that I am as good as Walt Whitman and Poe? I have a long poem, but why don't I just give you a short one, short and easy. Yeah, when I was like 15 or 16, I started learning German because I'd read Goethe's famous Earl King about the father with his child, going to the doctor through the woods, the Earl King. So I taught myself German in high school, so I could read Goethe in the original. Wer reitet so spät durch Nacht und Wind? Es ist der Vater mit seinem Kind. You can hear in the English. Wer reitet, who rides, so spät, so late, durch Nacht und Wind, through night and wind. See, English is German. It's a highly evolved form of German. Yeah, so I read widely, and I got to be a real Goethe lover. And I read Wilhelm Meister's novels, the two Wilhelm Meister novels. I love the Wanderjahre, the Wonder Year, the Wandering Year. traveling around as a newly minted apprentice. Yeah. So my first poems came out sounding, well, Goethe could have written this poem. This is a poem called Ode to Spring. It's a farm boy's impression of the coming of spring. Up north in the Midwest, everything turns to mud, and the snow melts, and the change in temperature, the sudden warmth, puts your teeth on edge, or to put my teeth on edge for a minute, the acclimation, it's called. So this is a farm boy's impression of the coming of spring, called Ode to Spring. Mud weather, itchiness in the air, birds and hogs are happy, though the trees are bare. And there's still a dirty crust of snow on fences here and there. Mud weather, and the sun's got more land in heaven than before. I wrote a number of farm poems, and then I gave you a sample of Mike Bukowski's. That's a lousy sample. I gotta find the good ones to read the good ones to you. And those are like diary entries. Those are not good Bukowski's. And then I wrote my serious modernist poetry. And I'll give you a little sample of that. And I'm sure this is as good as any modernist poetry, as good as, who was the guy that wrote about, it'll come to me. But I mean, mention any of these guys. T.S. Eliot. I'm not as good as T.S. Eliot, no. But anybody else, yeah, I think so. Frost. My best friend told me that a photographer, artist, very brilliant guy, told me that I was definitely better than Frost, which blew my mind. So I went and studied. I think I am. I'm certainly as good as Frost, probably better. Oh yeah, and then my modernist poetry. An example would be on the E Train, and this is unique in the history of literature. There's no one has ever used poetic devices for comedic effect, and this little poem has more poetic devices than any poem ever written in its length, probably times 5. Rhyme, metaphor, alliteration, oh wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, Percy Bysshe Shelley, oh wild west wind, www, alliteration, metaphor, okay? Run like the wind. What else? Oh, nobody's used neologisms in poetry since Shakespeare, who made up 15% of his words in his writing. Bedroom, pages of words have come into our vocabulary from Shakespeare. All right, so this poem has, listen for the neologisms. They're going to be very easy to understand, don't worry. But all of this is used for comedic effect. On the E Train. An overinflated porculette sits across from me in the E Train, her pallid pig face plastered with pimples. A single piercing graces this piglitude, a diamond below her lip, no bigger than a pinprick. But stay, don't go, I beseech thee. Behold her, for she bestirs herself, a walrus wallowing woefully. A stretcher stuffed tiny, I twitter tastefully. Wiggle your piggle, I call after her encouragingly. Oh, everlasting, never-ending cavalcade of ponderous poundage, oh, horror of the E Train. That's my on the E Train. It's sort of an experimental poem, but it works. It's probably the funniest poem ever written. So anyway, I've given you all the reasons I can think of for taking my poetry workshop, poetry and fiction. See the difference between me and Biden? Biden said, "I am a proud Democrat running for the Senate." This is recently, and then he just kept talking. Right? See, I'm exactly his age. I heard myself. I heard what I said. Right, and I immediately corrected it. He heard what he said. He heard it also, of course. He had to hear it, but he was lost in space. He was lost in time. I mean, he was back 20 years earlier in his life. He had gone back to his life as a senator. That is true dementia. All these other examples of his dementia, like he would get lost and he would make mistakes, he would mistake himself. I do that. Everybody does that, my age, okay? Occasionally. But this is different, see? This is not just making a mistake. It's making a mistake for Joe Biden today, but it's not making. But he was not being dishonest. He was not lying. He thought he was the Joe Biden of 20 years ago, and that he was running for Senate. He really did when he said that. Don't confuse that with Barack Obama saying, "According to my Muslim religion," because Barack Obama was not lying then, of course, and he wasn't making a mistake. You can't say. Can you imagine saying? Let's say you're a Christian. Can you imagine saying, "According to my Hindu religion," according to my Buddhist religion? No, that's impossible. That's not a mistake. That's true. And he proved it, with Iraq, sending billions to Iraq and then allowing ISIS, to spread like a cancer. So he was telling the truth. He was born a Muslim. He grew up a Muslim. Can you imagine? I grew up as a Christian. I went to Sunday school, church, etc. Can I undo this? No, you can't undo this. The man is a Muslim today. He has to go to a Christian church to be president in the United States. He's got to go, but no, his heart belongs to the Prophet. Which I'm not complaining about. It's just I'm explaining what these mistakes make, what these mistakes mean. See, in Obama's case, it means he forgot to lie. That was a mistake he made. Okay? In Biden's case, it means he forgot what decade he was in because he's senile, seriously demented. He and his son. That's a beautiful marriage of dementia and depravity. If he is elected, if he and the Camel are elected, man, I'm leaving the country. And I'm not going to admit to anybody that I'm American. I'm going to tell you I'm Canadian and I know Jordan Peterson. So you got your entertainment for the day, and you know what my goals and objectives are for you, okay? Which is to win a Nobel Prize for Literature. So I will see you